This morning, the CDC and the FDA both calling on states to join the federal government and putting the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on hold as it investigates rare cases where patients develop a blood clot. And just into our newsroom just now, Governor Andrew Cuomo tweeting that New York State is officially pausing Johnson & Johnson vaccinations out of an abundance of caution. All right, so joining me now to talk more about this breaking development is our friend, a friend of the show, Dr. Shereef Elnahal, President and CEO of University Hospital in Newark. Dr. Elnahal, thanks so much for being with us, especially on this last bit of notice. We gave you the call just, about an hour or so ago, so we appreciate you being right here on our air. I want to talk to you, first of all, about this pause and how significant it is for both the FDA and the CDC to put it into action.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on, as always. The first thing I'll say is that it is pretty significant. We now have over almost 7 million people, I should say, vaccinated with Johnson & Johnson, and 6 instances of a serious condition called cerebral sinus thrombosis, which is a clotting syndrome that is not your typical blood clot. It's a serious condition that requires a unique treatment. So the main question that we have to answer is whether the vaccine itself is linked causally to those events. And the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, which is a committee of the CDC, is meeting tomorrow to determine that. But until then, we've suspended all Johnson & Johnson vaccinations out of University Hospital in Newark.
All right, and we understand that, the governor of New York has also put it on pause as well. Everyone's being very careful with this because, as far as we know, at this point, 6 people have had these blood clots, all of them women, ages 18 to 48. One has actually died, and one is in critical condition. So these are serious symptoms.
They are, Betty. And one thing to be certain about, and which we're not yet, is making sure that we have the science to determine whether it's actually linked to the vaccine or not. For example, a relatively serious condition called Bell's palsy occurred with some of the vaccines during the clinical trial phase. And so there were concerns about it being linked, but it was found that essentially the same rates of that rare condition occurred in both the placebo and the investigational arm of those studies. So it was determined not to be linked to any of the vaccines. So a similar type of look will have to occur. And I hope that the serious condition is not linked, especially since it's so rare. And the language from the FDA on doing this out of an abundance of caution is encouraging that it may not actually be linked.
Well, let's hope it's not. Yeah. I guess the thing that's on top of our mind is, okay, if I've gotten the shot or I was scheduled to get the shot, mainly now for those who have gotten it because those who are scheduled are on pause, is there some worry? What should they be looking for?
Well, again, until we find out more from the White House at around 10 a.m., it's tough to say exactly how many of the instances were the condition I mentioned. Severe headache, loss of movement or sensation anywhere in the body, and severe shortness of breath that happens suddenly are signs and symptoms of severe clotting syndrome that you may have. So as always, if you're concerned about your health, you should have very low threshold of calling 911 and getting into an emergency room, especially if you've gotten the J&J vaccine.
Well, I have you here. I want to ask about these cases that we've seen recently here in our area. I just spoke with a woman yesterday who got the J&J vaccine, and even after getting it, she got COVID-19. So, and we're learning that 2 other people in Brooklyn had a very similar situation as well. So talk to me about how is that happening? Why is that happening? We know it's not 100%, but when you see these numbers, you hear these stories, it makes you worry.
So that isn't unusual, actually. You do have a vaccine that is just under 70% overall effective, which means that you're going to have some folks get COVID-19 even after they've been vaccinated. But remember, the benefits of vaccination aren't just for preventing the illness in the first place. More importantly, they're about preventing hospitalization.
Right.
Death. And so we have not seen a single person admitted to University Hospital as of yet who's gotten the vaccine requiring a hospital admission for COVID. So getting mild COVID is much better, of course, than getting severe COVID that requires hospitalization. And again, there have not been case reports of death for anybody who's been
Yeah, I
vaccinated.
have to push back on that just a little bit. It may not have been in a university hospital, but we have been reporting today that there has been a man in New Jersey that did have to go to the hospital. He is, in fact, in critical condition after 1 month of getting, 1 month after receiving the vaccine, he got COVID-19. So what does that tell you?
Well, that's unfortunate. Of course, I don't know anything about the case, but we'd have to see what happened in that case, whether the person was fully immunized, et cetera. And all those things need to be reported through the vaccine adverse events reporting system and to the state health department to be able to sift through that. But you're
Right.
now talking about a vaccine that has been administered to tens of millions of people, over 100 million people throughout the country. And so if there's just a few isolated cases of hospital admission, it's still a good sign that it's overall very effective.
Yeah, and I think the caution here is we don't want to scare people from getting the vaccine, right? Because there are a lot of cases when it is indeed working. So Dr. Elnahal, thanks so much for your insight today. There's a lot of questions surrounding this, so I'm sure we'll have you back on very shortly.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Take care.